As for this session, the futurist discussion on AI-driven strategies for achieving sustainable development goals. We are gathered here to exchange ideas and open discussions on the said topics. And it is indeed a golden opportunity for each one of us to enrich and enlighten ourselves. And now, without further ado, let's dive into our promising schedule. With that being said, please welcome our speaker, Mr. Patrick Dixon. He's the chairman of Global Change Limited from London. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Dixon. Dipersilakan.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's a great honor and a privilege today to address you on how AI can deliver a more sustainable world. So I am often described as a futurist. I work with very large companies, helping them to understand tomorrow's opportunities and to manage their risks. And I have worked with around 400 of the largest companies in the world, including many of the most advanced companies in AI. The fact is that most people think about AI as things to do with saving time or providing better answers on our smartphones, creating smarter factories, lower costs, AI drivers, smaller teams, all that kind of thing. But here is the truth about AI. This is what my research showed. On current trends, the AI of tomorrow will be up to 1 billion times more powerful than AI is today. It's very hard to understand that jump. So whatever you think about AI today is already history. My question is, what about tomorrow? So AI is rushing farther ahead than almost everybody in our world understands. AI research is going even faster than most AI researchers understand. AI is delivering answers, and no one who has researched AI knows fully how AI has created that answer. So we are on the edge of something beyond extraordinary. I am a physician in my first training, and I thought it would be interesting to look at connecting AI into the human brain. I just want you to understand the speed of change. You might think, what, AI? Connecting my brain into the web? Connecting my brain into the internet? Into AI? What would happen? Actually, I'm telling you history. You tell me the future. It's already happened. Let's have a look at why. Noland Arbo is a young guy. He had a terrible accident. As a result, he is paralyzed from the neck down. He was only able last year to communicate, other than speech, by sucking and blowing on a straw. If he wants to turn the air conditioning on, if he wants to turn the lights on, if he wants to write T-H-E on a computer screen, terrible. And then Elon Musk's company, Neuralink, signed a contract and took him into the operating theater, and they put a chip inside his brain with 1,000 connections, and something incredible happened. Now, let me tell you, chips inside brains is something that has been going on for 25 years. Put up your hands if you knew that, okay? Even 10 years ago, we were able to put a chip in a mouse's brain and a chip in another mouse brain, one in the Caribbean, the other in New York, connect them through the internet, and together they were able to solve a puzzle to create food for themselves by joining their two brains together digitally. That's 10 years ago. I'm telling you history. You tell me the future. This is recent history now. This happened last year. Noland can now control a computer by thinking. He can play Mario Kart and he beats everyone else just by thinking. He plays chess by thinking. He's asked, what does it feel like to control the world using AI? Because AI is listening to the signals from his brain and has learned to predict what he wants to do. He says, I can't describe it, except when I think, it happens. I look at the screen, the cursor moves. I think about clicking, it goes click. I think about double-clicking, concentrate, double-click, it double-clicks. It hears me thinking. It's controlling everything exactly as I want. So that's history. Now I want to ask you a question about your future. Would you be interested in having such a device? If you were paralyzed from the neck down, would you be willing to come to me as a doctor and ask for a chip inside your brain like this one? Put up your hands if you would be interested. Okay. Next question. About a third of you. Next question. Put up your hands if you would be interested anyway. You say, I'm perfectly healthy, Patrick. I don't need it. But it would be interesting to try. It would be interesting to learn a new language by AI. To be able to send an email by thinking alone. To be able to imagine a picture and immediately the picture is up on the screen. Put up your hands if you would be interested in joining your brain to AI. Put up your hands if you would be interested. That's interesting. It's about 20% of you here today. That's an important statistic. 20% of the delegates at a sustainability event in Johor are interested in the principle of connecting your brain online. Do you know why? Because in the US, a survey was done recently. 5% of 18 to 29-year-olds would definitely be interested in connecting their brains online. Now, listen, I just want us to think about what is happening, the speed of change, the possibilities for the future. Now, there are challenges when we come to sustainability with this. I'm going to be very honest with you today. I made this photo on my phone about a week ago. It took about 15 seconds, but it used as much power as charging my phone entirely overnight. One photo. Does that matter? Yes, it might. We've all used ChatGPT and things like that. But did you know that every time you ask 30 questions, you've used a liter of water just to cool down these servers? Digital devices, this is the truth. Digital already uses 4% of the entire global power. AI power use is growing so fast that this could rise to 8% by 2040 or 2045. Does it matter? Yes, it does. AI will use as much power as Argentina, the Netherlands, and Sweden within 2 years. Does it matter? Yes, it does. And this is a success story for this wonderful city. You are located with such an incredible opportunity because of Singapore. so close by. You already have 1.6 million square feet of data centers here within a few kilometers of where I am now. There is $3 billion of investment every year coming into this city to build more data centers. Fantastic economic growth, but also a challenge for power and for water. These are the reasons why Microsoft is trying to reactivate the 3 Mile Island nuclear power station. Microsoft desperately needs carbon-neutral power for its AI. This power station, this nuclear power station, had an accident, a nuclear accident, 20 years ago. But Microsoft needs it and is hoping to restart it very soon. It's part of this whole picture. Now that's the background. So what about the upside? How can AI deal with all of that and generate a positive impact on sustainability? Here is how. Number one, decision making. We've already heard about the incredible vision of this city to create new urban communities which are smart, digitally enabled, and ultra-green, very sustainable. We have to do it. Over the next 30 years, 1 billion human beings will move from rural areas into cities. And unless we do something, it will be cities like this, chaos, megacities. But what we need is to be planning for sustainable growth, just like this city is. So what does that look like? AI is already transforming every aspect of smart city design. And one of the leaders in the world in this is China, who are investing more in green tech than any other nation globally at the moment. China is the biggest implementer of wind, of solar, of just about every other smart and green tech innovation you can imagine. So AI can turn a drawing like this, a concept, into something far beyond this kind of physical model. I was speaking recently in Saudi Arabia at a conference of 200,000 people, including exhibition, on the future of smart cities. We had huge models like this, but all that can be built by AI in minutes, just from a concept. We can go beyond that. With AI, we can fly around the city. This video is entirely fake. AI produced it all. Nothing exists of that video. It was entirely a concept in the mind of the architect, a few text instructions, and this came out. AI has the ability not only to plan, to multiply a vision into the practical reality, but also to do the intense calculations, the detailed drawings. You want a hospital? AI will make it for you. You want a school? AI will build it for you. At least the design, down to the number of classrooms, the cost per classroom, the cost per pupil, the cost per square meter, how many meters of cable, how many meters of pipe, how many electric lights, how many plug sockets, how many drains, every single detail, and the costings, and a forecast for inflation, and a 300-page structure for a bid, a quote for the entire thing, and the building regulations, and the engineering drawings, and modern methods to construct it, modular, off-site, being delivered on-site. AI will do all of that in future. All these tools already exist, but they are not widely used, not connected yet. AI can also calculate very complex things. For example, what will be the impact on the air temperature in this city if we plant green balconies? Very difficult for a human. AI, 30 seconds work. Oh, and a lot of energy and a lot of water. But you'll get the answer. What about solar? Solar and wind we've heard about a lot. Wind is less relevant in this country right now because of climate. But solar, yes, fantastic. But where do you put it? And what will you get from it? AI can produce the detailed calculations and make better ones, more accurate ones than any other mechanism. So we can forecast where green energy will come from. I will show you why this is so important in a minute, because it's easy to waste green energy if we don't get the calculations right. We literally land up throwing power away. I will show you how that works in a minute. Now, Google have built one of the world's most sophisticated AI platforms, DeepMind. And they are using it in their own servers, their own data servers, to save power. They are modeling temperature of the environment inside. They're modeling the demand for AI activity per hour for the next month. They are monitoring also weather information, and they use all this to balance their energy use. As a result, they are saving $1 billion every year in energy, and they've reduced their energy by 40%. That's pretty good. Yes, it used a bit of power and water to make the calculation. But look at what the impact is. Incredible. Now, this links to the second area I want to look at, which is resource optimization. And this is one of the most exciting areas for AI to contribute to. Here is a city in Europe, Copenhagen. Copenhagen is a fantastic example of use of AI integrated with all the other technologies, like the Internet of Things, robots, recycling, smart grids, smart water management, better traffic light controls, every single piece connected together. This has been going on for 7 years, and this is the result. 55% fall in carbon emissions. That's great because the population has grown of the city. 28% less water waste, 27% less traffic jams, 18% less stuff going into landfill, 35% increase in energy efficiency in the government buildings, 32% increase in transport, in public transport. We heard earlier how fast public transport is a key strategy for sustainable cities, especially here, which is why you're seeing this fantastic investment with rail and bus and the rest. So certainly Copenhagen has seen that. 22% better air quality and 22% better recycling. And for only a very small investment, $300 million to produce all of that is not such a great amount over 7 years. And even just one innovation has a dramatic impact. So I was talking to a colleague just a few minutes ago who's just come back from Wuhan. And in Wuhan, I have learned that the taxis are now auto-driven. Fantastic. Of course, as that happens, it means less accidents. Less accidents means less resource used. Just braking 2 cars in that accident wipes out a huge amount of energy to reproduce, remake, and all the rest of it. Here is another amazingly powerful example of AI. I had to fly here from London. Actually, the trouble was I wasted a lot of power. You know why? Because my plane had to follow the same other plane on the same route. In fact, we were all in a traffic jam, one plane after another, and when one plane tries to overtake another, we have to go up 3,000 feet or down 2,000 feet. It's a corridor. It's a motorway for planes. The trouble is, they go straight, and then that way, and then that way, and then that way, and then that way. It's slow, inefficient, and takes longer in terms of distance. The only reason we do it is because human beings cannot cope with planes just going anywhere. It's for safety that we keep planes on the same aviation railway track. They have to stick to it, one height or another height, but you don't go off. You do not go off that route. And we have very few routes in the world. If you want to look at them, you can use an app. You can see every plane in the air. They're all following the same lines. Crazy? AI can deal with this. AI in every plane means every plane decides its own route, communicating with every other plane, so that the air traffic control becomes a live community of planes all controlled together by different forms of AI. The result is a map like this, and in the EU alone, we've just agreed to do this, to allow planes to fly from one city to another in a straight line, to take the shortest route. And the result is incredible. We will see in the EU alone, just these short flights, just in the EU, 1 billion miles less flown, 6 million tons of fuel saved, $6 billion a year of lower cost. Win, win, win. And the cost of doing it, it's falling every day. Okay, it uses a bit of power and a bit of water, but what an amazing benefit. We could go on. We can do similar things with shipping, with air freight. AI can also help us to manage the problems of green energy production. I mentioned that we're throwing power away. Let me show you why. Here is the good news. The cost of solar power, as you, I'm sure, know, has fallen dramatically. This is from 2011 through to 2024 on a zero axis. So this is zero here. Look at the collapse in price. My question is, where will it go next? Actually, I'll tell you where it will go. We're going to see a similar collapse. If you put today's price, 2024, on a different axis up here, you will see the same collapse. You know why? Partly because of AI. AI is helping us manufacture things more efficiently. AI is helping us find better designs. AI is helping us discover different kinds of molecules which can be built into solar panels. As a result, we will see a 50% increase in the efficiency of solar cells globally within the next 5 or 10, 15 years. As a result, we will also see further collapse in energy costs. That's the good news, okay? And the good news is solar panels are coming everywhere. We are almost at the point where solar panels are the cheapest form of roofing you can imagine if you include the solar power generated and selling it back to the grid. But here is the consequence. In Germany, for 10 years now, 10 whole years, it is often the case in Germany that there is so much solar and wind and nuclear that the grid is starting to burn up. I tell you, this is a national emergency. If you have a grid which is overpowered, too many solar panels, too many wind, and you can't shut the wind turbine down, you cannot disconnect solar, what happens? I'll tell you what happens. The grid starts to melt up. The fuses start to go. The grid blows up. It becomes a national emergency. You know what they do? They start phoning up big factories and say, Siemens, hello Siemens, could you do me a favor? Would you mind turning on all your air conditioning and all your heating? Say, what? Who are you? I am the head of the utility company. We have a national emergency. Please turn on all the aircon and all the heat. And what's that going to cost me? No, you don't understand. I am paying you. What? I am paying you to turn on the heat and the aircon. I will pay you for every kilowatt you use. I pay you. What? That's what negative pricing is. Hands up if you knew this was happening a lot in Germany. What a crazy world. This is negative pricing. Okay, tell me, put your hands up if you have solar panels on your house. Some. I don't know how long ago you put them on, but soon you were in the same situation where your energy is free. You're throwing it away unless you give it back to the grid. This is a huge issue. In Germany, it becomes a national emergency, and every time it drops below there, you're in negative territory. It's simply a question of how much money they pay you to burn up energy. Crazy. Crazy. So what's the answer? The answer is AI, my friends. That's why Siemens has formed a partnership with the Energy Hub Grid to try and deal with this disaster. How crazy to spend all this money building green and then throw the power away. We should convert it into hydrogen. Use it for your hydrogen economy here in Johor. We were hearing about this. Convert it into, make water from seawater. Do invest in desalination, whatever you want, but don't throw the power away. You say, well, we can't get it to the hydrogen factory because we need a grid. We can't get all that power from our solar farm into the hydrogen facility because we don't have the grid. And even if we had the grid, we don't have the ability to flip at the speed of light just because a cloud goes over the sun. And there's a thunderstorm and suddenly the power collapses. We cannot do this, Patrick. Yes, we can. With AI, we can. With full integration. So this system predicts demand, weather, renewables. It's 15% more efficient, 20% less energy wasted. It's a part of the future. Of course, it helps if everyone who's making power for the grid is also on a smart meter. 1 billion people are already smart metered in the world. I'm telling you history. You tell me the future. We have 1 billion power users already transmitting live data about their power use. Once you have a smart meter, we can do things like offer you negative pricing. We can say, would you like to turn on your washing machine now? Say, why? Because if you do, we will pay you $5. Okay, I'll turn on my washing machine now. What else would you like me to do? Well, I'd like you to turn on the washing up machine as well. And turn on your hot water heater as well. I will pay you another $5 and another $5. Say yes, yes, yes. All this can happen automatically using AI at the speed of light. So you might have 5 million households all communicating with the grid here in Malaysia, switching capacity, turning on or off a device like a water heater or something like that, or supplying energy from your electric car battery at a peak time back into the grid, and so on. This is the kind of thing that AI can do. Now we get into exciting territory. Imagine the grid in place, controlled by AI. We can balance at the speed of light. We've got some huge batteries. We've got our hydrogen production facility to absorb power. We've got our desalination process that takes water from the sea just here. We've got all kinds of mechanisms to take power and put it back into the system very quickly. Now comes the magic. They have this in France. And then one day, the Prime Minister of France woke up and he had an idea. He said, we were thinking of building 10 new nuclear power stations to try and cope with all this stuff, because it's carbon neutral and we don't have enough wind and solar. But it will take 10 or 15 years to produce them, and it's expensive, and then you have huge costs of decommissioning and nuclear radiation risk. We have an idea. So they pass a new law. The law is one sentence long, signed by the Prime Minister. And the law says this: if you own a car park with more than 80 car park spaces, you must cover your spaces with solar cells by 2028, or go to prison. Prime Minister. Great. Whoa, big shock. Well, but a shock to who? I mean, who's going to pay for it? Well, the bank will lend you the money if you have a car park, and you'll have paid back the loan in 7 years, maybe 8. After that, it's pure profit. You can put up the charges a bit in the car park in the meantime. By the way, in the United States, an airport decided to just do it, just for fun. They covered half their car park spaces with solar cells and the other half not. And they said, under the solar cells, we'll charge you an extra $5 an hour. Why? Because it's cooler. And guess what? The solar cells covered spaces are packed and the rest are not. So car park users are willing to pay more anyway in a hot country to have their car under shade. I'm just saying it was a genius idea because it cost the government nothing. The result will be as much new power generation as 10 nuclear power stations in less than 3 years. What's not to like if you're a prime minister? I promise you, listen, I'm a futurist. I have been predicting trends for nearly 30 years. So I make a big prediction. You are going to see lots more government announcements just like that one. Announcements that cost the government nothing. Announcements that make money for the community in the future. Announcements that accelerate us going green at the same time. Wow. That's why the infrastructure is important. When you have it, you can do these kinds of miracles. And another area of optimization or conservation is, of course, water use. IBM is using IBM Watson to determine the best time to use precious irrigation. And they have found that they can not only increase the crop by 20%, but also save 40% of water. These are win, win, win. I mentioned about recycling in Copenhagen. They're using robots for this, but so are other places too. Recycling is a huge challenge because it's so complicated. But robotics is using an AI system to identify and sort, and they have found their recycling rate is up by 50%, landfill waste is down by 30%, the cost per year is only $500,000. Okay, here's the third area of sustainability. As a physician, this is one that really excites me. In fact, if you look at what's happening in health, you will see examples of the kinds of scale and speed of things that could happen in energy, in green conservation, and so on. Let's have a look. Universal access to healthcare is a primary UN sustainability goal. So let's have a look at how AI is already starting to make a dramatic difference to your health, mine, and your children's health. AI will save, I calculate, at least 10 million lives every year globally. This is how. Firstly, more accurate diagnosis. Just feeding the data in and getting better replies. 1 billion people on Earth already wear a smart device which captures data for their health, like your heart rate on an iWatch or how many steps you walk. Even your smartphone will do that. I'm talking about Fitbits and other things as well. 1 billion. That's 1 billion human beings we could connect already into AI. I'll give you an example why we're not quite there yet. So my iWatch will automatically detect if my heart rate goes very high with what we call atrial fibrillation. It's a dangerous condition. It will diagnose it immediately. Fantastic. But it's not able to, it takes a proper ECG, a proper electric monitor. But that's all it will do. I'll tell you, I think within the next 24 months, AI will start to detect 5, 10, 20, 25 other dangerous heart rhythms. This is happening very, very fast. 1 in 3 hospitals in the US are already using AI in diagnosis. Within 5 years, it will be impossible to buy a new medtech device that isn't linked to AI. Just look at this. This is a physician looking at routine chest x-rays for things like TB, chest cancer, all kinds of things, bronchitis, pneumonia. Really important job. One physician might be scanning, one radiologist might scan 600 of these a day. You make mistakes. You know, you can hardly keep your eyes open, okay? I can tell you this. AI can do a better result in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. That's really important. It means the patient can be called straight into the clinic. They're in the department already having their x-rays, then they get sent home. Then the scan gets read the following day, and then the letter goes out, and then you have an appointment, and then they come back. You've lost 2 weeks already. We want to be scanning in real time, so the person knows instantly if there's a problem or not, or rather that it goes reported to the radiologist, they have a quick look and they say, yes, 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 get that person in now. Really important. I tell you this, if you've got a lung cancer, you do not want to wait 2 weeks for it to be diagnosed. You want to know straight away. Here's another example. You may have a relative, or it may be yourself, who's had a lump, and the surgeon took a sample of the lump, and someone looked at it under the microscope. That's the good news. The bad news is they will miss 1 in 30. 1 in 30 cancers will be missed. No, perfectly okay. No, 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 no. No, person is dying. Person is dying. No, no, perfectly okay. They miss 1 in 30. It's really, really serious. AI can do the same. It misses only 1 in 200. Does that matter? Yes. Incredibly important. Predicting the risk of infection. We can predict much more accurately who will need antibiotics before they go to theater. This is even better. To predict a mistake the surgeon's about to make inside your body in the next 20 seconds. Wouldn't you like that? Put up your hands if you'd like that. AI to warn the surgeon says, stop. You're about to cut an artery. Whoa. Let me show you. Let me show you. This is a cancer operation, and AI is displaying on the screen the difference between cancer tissue and normal tissue. I'll tell you this is completely revolutionary for medicine. Exactly the same technology is being used to interpret weather patterns for solar. Exactly the same technology is being used to map demand for power in real time. Exactly the same kind of technology is being used to map forest destruction. I'm showing you the future of many other areas of AI in sustainable futures. Here's another example. This is the Holy Grail. This is the crock of gold. The biggest crock of gold for the future of health is one thing: genetics. And there is one technology which is turning that into the gold mine, and that is AI. Why? We have 500,000 human beings just like you. We have your entire genetic code. And now we are listening, watching what is happening to you. Every day we monitor your health, your records, your lifestyle, your diet, the job that you do, where you live, whether you have a family, the history of your mother and father, whatever. And we are mapping this. We have found 1 million genetic variants already, which we can use to predict your future. You start linking that with medical errors. In the US alone, 400,000 people died last year because of mistakes by people like me, okay? Wrong treatment. Wrong treatment. Wrong drug. Wrong person. Actually, people's legs get cut off in the wrong patient, or the right leg instead of the left leg. You would not believe the things that happen in hospitals, okay? AI can sort this lot out by making treatment recommendations. And as that happens, lives are transformed. So actually, do you know what? It's getting to the point now where AI is so good that if I was looking after a patient, or you were a doctor looking after a patient, and the AI comes up and says, this is advice on treatment, if I go a different way, the risk is that I will end up in court. If the patient dies, they'll say, so, Dr. Dixon, you presumably had advice from the AI, yes? Yes. And what did the AI say? The AI said, protocol A1. And what did you actually do, Dr. Dixon? I went for protocol C1. And why was that, Dr. Dixon? Well, because I didn't think AI was as good as I was. And he says, but the patient died, didn't they, Dr. Dixon? Whoa, what's going to happen now? A difficult situation. Which raises the next thing I want to talk about, which is the future of education, because actually you can see that the whole purpose of education for doctors is going to change because of AI, right? Because AI is already better than many doctors when it comes to decisions. I'm telling you history, you tell me tomorrow. So when we look at the future of education, we see a dramatic change happening too. Now, this magic box is an interesting innovation. This is just one of many. This is in Singapore company, just a few miles away, doing amazing. This particular program is already in use in 21 campuses in 7 nations, schools, colleges. It gives personalized engagement, high learning, fantastic results. It's being used to create virtual classrooms and so on. 7 million students are using it. I could give you 100 other platforms like this. It's really taking off fast. This will help us to deliver another ESG for the UN, which is universal education for all. Here's another example. Bolton College. In their remote learning, they wanted to develop a suite of videos, but videos take a long time. In fact, even if you've got a studio and technicians, it can take 3 days to produce a 15-minute video to the right quality. Along comes Synthesia with their AI platform. You don't need to edit. You don't need to go into the studio. Here is a video I'm going to show you. It was made in less than 10 minutes. So this is 3 days' work in 10 minutes at almost zero cost. Watch this.
At Bolton College, you're expected to attend all your lessons and activities. This includes lessons, lectures, workshops, work experience, online learning, tutorials, enrichment activities, and one-to-one progress reviews. Attendance and punctuality are essential if you want to progress and achieve your goals, especially if you want to go to university or get a good job.
Okay, I think that's pretty good, don't you? Pretty good, considering that no human being was involved and it took 10 minutes and cost virtually nothing. You can build entire class materials, weeks of syllabus, very quickly. I thought I'd have a go at this. I decided to let AI learn me. So just for fun, I sat in front of AI. I said, what do you want? And the AI said, I need 5 minutes of your time. So what do you want me to do? I want you to talk to me, just talk. So I sat there in my living room at home, and I sat and chatted away for 5 minutes until the AI said, that's fine, that's fine. And then the prompt is, so what would you like to do? Well, I'd like to give a lecture. I'd like to give a lecture. Say, fine. Okay, well, just give me the words, and off we go. So here we are. Here is fake Patrick Dixon.
And movie actors were on strike recently because of fears that AI will rip off their voices and appearance and make them redundant. Well, for shorter shots anyway. And well, I need to say here that I do have a bit of a confession to make. I need to be honest with you. I never sat here in our living room, in this chair, to make this video. Well, I've said it, there is nothing real about what you're watching.
When I wrote my latest book, How AI Will Shape Your Life, I thought I would play a little bit of a joke. I got AI to promote the video, say, hey, I've just written a new book on AI. It's got chapters on 24 industries. It will help you learn about AI in the environment, AI in health, AI in education. This is a really important time for AI. I hope you got it up. I posted it on Facebook. Oh my goodness, I got a big reaction. You know why? People who knew me were taken in. They thought it was real. And then when they got to the final frame where I said, by the way, it's fake, none of this is real, I never sat here, they were so cross. They said, but I will never be able to trust anything you post again on Facebook because I won't know whether it's real or not. Listen, I'm telling you history. You tell me tomorrow. How good do you think that will be in 5 years? It's quite good now, isn't it? My friends were deceived. Actually, if it's good enough to do that, I could start creating an avatar of myself to do some classroom teaching for schools, couldn't I? Well, you might say, ethical issues here. I would prefer it to be you still. Yes, okay, I'm just saying that you can make this personalized. You don't have to use the kind of avatar that I showed you here. You don't have to use a fictitious person. You can use you. You can use whoever you want, and it takes only 5 minutes.
At Bolton College.
I'm just telling you, I'm telling you history. You tell me the future. I just want you to get a feel of the speed of change here when it comes to universal education. Here is another example. Your Loyola University are using AI to meet all the routine queries of their students. What grades did I get? When's my next class review? When's my next tutorial? What exams will there be? All this kind of thing. And the assistant is producing 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with a 91% accuracy on responses. I'm telling you history. How good will it be tomorrow? 100%. Actually, it'll be 150%. It'll be better than a human being. Of course it will. But I'll tell you this, and the truth. Let me tell you the truth about AI in education. You will never, ever replace the human teacher. Why? Because something incredible happens. That's why we're here physically in this space. Something happens when we breathe the same air. The rest is just data. You can watch YouTube videos forever. But if we're talking about rewiring the human brains of your children, if we're talking about changing how executives think about sustainability, in my experience, and the research shows this over and over again, it means gathering, it means exchange of ideas, it means breathing the same air. Here, you can see the students are interacting with a teacher who has passion for their subject. The pupils are learning to work together, they are collaborating, they are learning the life skills they need for tomorrow. You will never do this with AI alone. So AI will help us, but it cannot be the foundation. And it's exactly the same when it comes to virtual teams. During COVID, by the way, as a futurist, it won't surprise you that I warned about the risk of viral pandemics for many years. When COVID happened, people said, oh, it's the end of the office. We'll all be working virtually forever. I said, no way. And you know what? Amazon has just called everyone back in full-time. Apple, 3 days a week already. You know why? Apple discovered they are the most virtual AI-driven company just about in the world. They are the best of the best when it comes to digital tools. But you know what they found? During COVID, they discovered that actually you have to pay attention to human beings, to the spirit of a human. They discovered that they were brilliant at managing virtually. Fantastic. Only problem is, they couldn't think, they couldn't innovate, they couldn't change. But if you can't think, and you can't innovate, and you can't change, what future does Apple have? Like nothing. So we learned something, again, very important about adult education. And every team is a source of education. All leadership is about inspiration, envisioning, also about education, how we're going to do it. It's about listening, teamwork, building vision together, and so on. But if Apple can't do it, then we need to be careful about over-imposing AI in the classroom. So, message, AI will transform universal access to education, but only by building on top of what is human beings. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you can have all this stuff, but if you can't monitor and track, if you can't predict, if you can't anticipate, if you can't give proper feedback about what goals you're achieving, then actually very little will happen. So let's have a look at this final area. Here's an example of a very interesting company, Patagonia. It sells sustainable clothing, outdoor clothing to help you climb mountains and enjoy life in the hills, to enjoy the wildlife. They decided to take eco to the next stage. They have always been proud about how they are responsible and sustainable across everything they do. The problem has been their supply chain. So they might be sustainable in their own factory, but if they're not sustainable in the supplier of the cotton, what value is that? So they decided to use AI to monitor their suppliers and track every intervention, as a result of which they've reduced their environmental footprint by 40% and they've saved money. Here's another example again, from the airline industry. If you can predict which aircraft engine is going to fail on your flight, for one, it may save your life because your plane doesn't crash. For two, hopefully, your life was saved anyway because there's two engines. But still, the plane has to turn around. If your plane has to turn around, that plane will have to dump maybe 80% of all the fuel just into the atmosphere, which is a terrible environmental crime, a catastrophe, right? So every time we can predict which jet engine fails, it makes life safer, but also more environmental and sustainable. And that's exactly what GV Aviation have done. They have gone into every statistic inside their engines. They've used special monitoring with predicts, using AI to predict which engine will fail next and take it out early. As a result, they've seen 60% or less engine failure in flight. Put up your hands if you think that's important. I'll tell you, it really is. Could save your life. But it means 60% less flight cancellations. It means 35% less waste. 10 million saved a year. What a fantastic output for AI. Here's another one, again from Green. People are always complaining to me about wind turbines. Have you noticed something? You look at them. Many of them are stationary and they're not turning. Why is that? They're broken again. Did you know that the average turbine fails at least once every 12 months? That's pretty bad. Yeah, pretty big. I'll tell you this. If you're trying to get a helicopter, you put someone on the top of that turbine to mend it, you will need a helicopter. It's a huge job. If there's something gone wrong with the gear, that's a massive, massive engineering challenge. Yeah? You want to predict it, deal with it before it starts to burn. You know what? The tops of these turbines can catch fire. Huge challenge. The turbine can fall off. Huge issue. As I say, that statistic tells you everything. Average turbine fails at least once every year. So Ørsted have put multiple sensors on their turbines. Downtime has gone down by 25%. 2.5 million savings a year for a very small cost. But the big monitoring, of course, is satellite. And you know all about this because it's the primary way of protecting your own rainforest. Satellite imaging. And we're seeing this in mangrove forests. You know what? This really excites me. One of the companies that's sponsoring this event is helping to replant mangroves. This is why I'm so excited about it. The primary issue with growing trees in many parts of the world is water, right? The primary issue is so much desert north of here and east of here. Think of the Middle East, for example. But we can grow an infinite amount of forest using salt water. All we need to do is provide the right environment. And that's exactly what's happening here in Dubai. Huge vision. They are planning to plant across 72 kilometers of coast, just as one country, one project. They can sequester 12.3 kilograms per tree per year. They're looking at planting 100 million new trees. This will capture 1.23 million tons of CO2 per year in an absolute 100% desert. How exciting is that? Very important. And what is more, it will also create, they think, 10,000 eco-tourism job opportunities a year. Fantastic. But how do you track it? How do you prove that those plants have survived? It's difficult. One of the problems is that mangrove leaves look like other leaves. From satellite, they look very similar. So there's a typical satellite picture up here. It's just shades of green. Pretty much useless. So we use AI. So WKC has found a way to interpret satellite images and convert it. So the red is mangrove. Everything else is not. But it all looked the same before. Really, really important. To be able to detect which parts of the rainforest have been attacked by a virus. Which parts of a rainforest are under stress. They may exist on paper, but you know that the trees are healthy or not. AI can help you to do that kind of thing. And when it comes to rainforest itself, of course, forests are so incredibly important for us. 80% of all land animals, plants, and insects are in our forests. We're losing 88,000 square kilometers every single year. By 2050, the amount of timber we use, wood we use for building or for paper, will have gone up by 4 times. 4 times. And in this part of the world, as you know, we're losing 1.2% every single year of tropical rainforest. Satellites are an incredibly important way to control this and manage it. It gives us early warning, almost in real time. You can almost watch the chainsaws in action. You see the lorries working their way through the forest, cutting down a track. You can see, okay, we can see where they're going, and we can send the helicopters to meet them. Now we have a method of control. A method of control that just goes into a forest a month after the damage is done is useless. The damage is done, the trees are down. But being able to actually see the cutting going on, using exactly the same technology as is being used to monitor the front lines from satellites in the Ukraine-Russian war. Exactly the same. Live or semi-live to the next 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, down to a base station, analyzed by a monitoring agency. Really, really important. This kind of technology could be saving 32 million hectares every single year by 2030 without too much difficulty. I'll just say again, it's another example where we have all the inputs. It's like the 1 billion people with wearable devices. They just need connecting. The data is there. We have the inputs. The satellites are already in space. We just need to train AI in the new pattern recognition. So you begin to see how it is that advances in education can help advances in forestry. Advances in forestry can help in diagnostics in medicine. Advances in diagnostics in medicine can help us in optimizing energy. Every one of these innovations connect together. Now, finally, I do have to remind us of one other thing. There is a third issue. I mentioned about power use and water, but there is a third, and I need to mention it before closing. And that is the possibility that some may want to use AI, the tool that should be helping humankind, to destroy it, to wreck our energy, to stop our smart grids, to close down your hospital, to prevent your school from operating, to destroy your company. This is already, before AI, an $8 trillion a year industry. If cybercrime were a nation, it would be the world's 3rd largest economy. I'll just say that again. If cybercrime were a nation, it would be the 3rd largest economy, and that's before AI. The challenge is that AI is now being used to accelerate this. So we were already, before AI, we were being hit by 560,000 malware attacks every single day, different ones. 500 million ransom attacks a year. 1 in 3 companies hit have been closing down on average around the world. 1 in 3. 1 in 3, folks. Why? Because the data's gone, your customer records have gone. You don't know how to pay your bills, your account's finished. That's why 50 million companies are paying out every year, an average of 500,000 just to try and stay alive. But you know what? You pay out and do you get your data back? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they want another million, and so it goes on. This is huge. And AI is making this worse because AI tools are being used by criminals already. And if you look on the dark web, it's already there. You can launch an AI-linked cyber attack for less than $1,000. So what's happening is you're going to see a huge investment, and it will be in green areas as well, sustainability areas, a huge investment in AI to protect us against rogue AI. Banks are doing this already, insurance companies are doing it, governments are investing in it, military and so on. So, okay. So how do we draw all this together? Well, what we conclude is this, my friends. Yes, AI is this extraordinary giant, Very difficult to really predict the speed at which it's going, but it's faster than any of us understand. Many of the things that most people in the world think are future have already happened, so we need to really get ahead of ourselves to predict where AI will work in sustainability. When we do, we see problems, of course, in terms of energy use and water, but massive opportunity in terms of decision-making using AI, resource optimization using AI, health for all using AI, access to education for all using AI or helped by AI, and much stricter and stronger and more robust accounting, reliability, and monitoring. And when we put all that together, we conclude that despite the cyber risk, we conclude that AI has a massive amount to contribute. And that is why, when you look at these exhibitions out there, and I hope you do, there's fantastic companies outside doing the most amazing things, and you'll see very many examples where AI is already being offered as an integrated part of their vision for a sustainable future. So I wish you every success in this incredibly exciting time for this amazing city of Johor, positioned as you are, so strategically, bang next to Singapore, right at the cutting edge of thinking about sustainability, right at the cutting edge of being able to offer transformational solutions, which could be a model for the entire region. And I wish you every success in your future as you pioneer these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick Dixon, the Chairman of Global Change Limited, for that insightful presentation. And we are truly grateful for your sharing your valuable insights. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just now we've seen a QR code whereby if you have any inquiries or any questions, you can air up in the Slido, they call it. Okay, as of now, I have few questions that to be aired.
Can we put the QR code back up?
Okay, technical teams or secretary, can you view the questions at the LED screen?
Can we put the QR code up again?
Okay, oh, okay. Or you can put again the QR code. Okay. Boleh tak tayangkan semula QR code?
Fine.
Alright. So shall I proceed with the first questions
Yes,
to you?
yes,
Okay. I have a question from Vic Nair. He got 5 likes for these questions. Okay. The question goes, how can AI specifically enhance accountability and decision-making in sustainable practices across? Shall I repeat again? Okay, the question is, how can AI specifically enhance accountability and decision-making in sustainable practices across?
Okay, well, let me just assume that you are, I don't know anything about the organization, but I'm going to make an assumption, which is that you're delivering a range of services and products which are related to this theme. And I would say start small in a practical way with the tools that you already have access to. An example for that would be Copilot if you're using Windows. Put your hands up if you're starting to use Copilot. I'll just give you one illustration. I was at a conference on sustainable building, sustainable cities, just last week. And I was talking to someone, and her job is to assess bids. So let's say a bid for a new school, and she's got maybe 5 bids, each with a different price, quoting against a specification, which is strict. Each bid is maybe 500 pages. And she thought it would be interesting to ask Copilot a view. So she said to Copilot, what do you make of these bids? And who would you award it to and why? She hadn't trained Copilot at all, or except by what was on her hard drive. And you know what? She said, I could not believe it. She said, after about 10 minutes, it had selected the first 2 and then the top 1, and give me all the reasons why. And she said the incredible thing was, do you know what? I thought it was 95% right. I'm telling you history, you tell me the future. How long has Copilot been out? A month? How good do you think it will be in the next year for her? Because of course, the genius of Copilot is, she'll tell Copilot how Copilot did. She'll score Copilot and said, You got it 95% right, but here's 5% I didn't like. So what will happen? So the next time she puts in 5 bids, of course, Copilot will do its best, and she'll say, I liked 96%, but 4% I didn't like. How long will it be, do you think, before Copilot is able to get the right answer on those bids 99% of the time at almost zero cost? What do you think? How many more weeks do you think it will take Copilot to learn? 6 weeks, 6 months? Listen, it's very soon, isn't it? It might be a year. By the way, what will she then be doing? I'll tell you what she'll be doing. She'll find something more intelligent to do than just assessing those bids. She'll then be working to start tracking quality and delivery and other things. What I'm really saying is this: start using AI where you can. As you do, you will learn. And as you do, AI will learn. And you will go on a journey together, which will enable you to start getting into the big areas you want, like monitoring or targeting or evaluation or whatever. That would be my answer. And be careful. Be careful. Let me just say this. When big data first hit our radar, which was about 10 years ago, everyone was talking to me about big data. Come and talk about big data. And you know what my message was? Your fastest way to lose $1 billion as a multinational bank is to build a big data machine. They didn't like that. The secret is little data. It's tiny fragments of your big data where the money is. And I was right. And many banks lost $1 billion each building crazy big data machines because they thought they just build a big data and the answers would come. It doesn't. The genius is what's inside your brain. It's your insights, your knowledge, your understanding fused with the tools. That's what makes the difference. And I believe we are in danger of seeing the same with AI. Be careful. Start using the tools that are there. Learn, use chat, use whatever things there are there. Fine. But just be careful before you go and sign a check for some enormous sum for a piece of software that may sound fine, but you know what? 70% of large IT projects fail to deliver, statistically. It's really important that we're wise about this, that we're well-informed, that we're not taken in by the hype. We go one step at a time. We are willing to make the big decision, but we do our careful research. Okay, so that's my answer on that.
Okay, I hope, Vic Nair, if you are still with us, I hope Mr. Dixon answers your questions perfectly. Okay, next up we have a very popular opinion, I would say. Okay, seems like the potentials and possibilities of AI are limitless. Okay, what kind of safeguards should we have for AI, and does it pose an existential threat to mankind?
Okay.
Take it away, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, right. So, there was a survey done recently of 2,700 AI researchers. They were only included in the survey if they were publishing original research on the future of AI, right? The majority of these researchers are lying awake at night worrying that the AI they are producing could turn out to create an existential threat to humanity, could turn out to create an unintended risk for us. And you think, well, how could this happen? I'll just give you one tiny example. President Biden has been trying to contact President Putin recently about his worries over AI. That's because the Pentagon has been running some war game scenarios and they turn out badly. Let me tell you what the war game scenario is. The war game scenario is that AI, because it's so complex to track all the satellites and all the potential missiles, and AI is now analyzing all the data for the Pentagon about potential incoming threats, especially right now. By the way, you'd only have seconds to react. If a warhead erupted from a Russian submarine close to New York City, how long would you have to decide whether it's a real nuclear attack or whether it isn't? How long to work out your response? So the Pentagon started to model the use of AI. Said, okay, we'll build AI into this. It's too complicated for any human being because it won't be one missile. If there's an attack coming, it could be 100. Next question.
Okay.
We like our AI.
Okay.
We like, yeah, but here's the point.
Yeah.
What if the Russians do the same, but their AI doesn't work? Perhaps it makes a mistake. You can see how the existential... So yes, you could have an AI accident. That's really important. How do you prevent these things? Well, firstly, you try to make sure that you have proper grown-up conversations between, like nuclear powers. Secondly, you try to make sure that there are proper controls in place. In my book, I have listed 10 steps that every government should take now to help regulate AI. I'll tell you the first.
Sure.
The first is that you say that any company in your country that is investing more than so many millions of dollars a year into AI, they have to register. They have to be on your register so you can see. It means your own government department can see, and then you can license them and say, this is what we want you to do, this is what you're not allowed to do. There has to be some kind of reporting so we understand what's happening. Second step is to have agreement across as many nations as possible, just like we have with atomic energy, about banning the use of AI in certain areas and encouraging it in others. So yes, it's a real thing. Yes, it should be managed and controlled. Yes, there are practical steps that the Malaysian government can take, the British government can take, and indeed the European Union has already agreed, the United States is already agreeing. This is happening very quickly. So these risks can be managed, I believe.
Yes, we shall believe it too, because it's come from you. Okay, moving on to the next questions we have from Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. How important is education in ensuring there are sufficient talents for AI in training highly skilled digital talents to meet global demands?
Yes, I think this is really, really important, and it comes back to, that's why we had one of my 5 areas was on education, because actually AI can be used to create the tools to educate us about AI. One of the challenges for us is that in many schools in my country, there is very little digital access. Most exams are still writing. There are not so many computers. Maybe that's different here, I don't know. But it's very, very important that we allow AI tools to be used in the classroom. Actually, I'll tell you where they're being used at the moment by young people. It's on their own mobile phones at home. Okay. So encouraging people to use AI, to explore it, to play with it, to learn about these things, and that's the fastest way that they will be prepared for their future. One of the challenges in education, of course, is that teachers often don't like the AI being used by the pupils. You know why? Because, of course, they get their homework done. So write 1,000 words on the future of AI in energy. It's supposed to be their evening, weekend work, okay? The Monday morning, they have a whole load of answers produced by AI. They just know it was not the pupils. The pupils didn't write a single word. They wrote one sentence. AI wrote it all. So AI creates a big problem for us. You could argue that the skills we need for the future are about how to harness things like AI rather than punishing people when they use it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
It may be more important to know how to get the answer that you want rather than the knowledge that you have about, let's say, the habitat of baboons. More important to be able to develop an AI strategy to protect baboons in 5 minutes and know how to do that.
Yeah.
So it's a very big, important question.
Yeah.
And as I said before to the person who asked about how do you get going, I would say get going with the tools you have. I'd say the same in education. Allow pupils, encourage them to play with what we have already, and they will become some of the smartest experts in your country very shortly in AI.
Yes.
And adult education is the same. Okay? Play.
Yes. Okay. A very strong answer for that question. Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Okay, I tried to read as much as questions that is being uploaded here,
Yep.
because we have until 12:30. 12:30?
Yeah, we
okay,
needed that.
we have still 15 minutes more. Okay, the next question is from Mr. Billy. Okay,
you.
Mr. Billy, are you here?
Thank
So,
you.
okay, all right. Mr. Billy asked, how can AI be integrated into real-world projects to ensure its impact is inclusive and equitable, especially in underrepresented or under-reserved communities?
I think this is very important. Let's be clear. If you're working in a rural area, let's say in northern Uganda, where the income level is very low, internet access is poor, and people struggle to charge their smartphones, AI is not going to have a big impact on that community in the next 20 years. But there's a middle ground, which is what I call emerging middle class. These are people, let's say, a little bit, who have just moved from that village. They're now living in the city. They've been to high school. They are in their first job. They are going to be significantly affected by AI. And it's really, really important that whatever we develop is accessible for such a generation. Now, AI depends on one thing more than anything, which is web access. If you have that and it's fast, then the whole world opens up. And actually, you don't need to worry too much about the education. You know what? If you can give a remote village really fast, low-cost internet, their world will explode with digital innovation, insight, knowledge, and understanding. And I'll just give you a prime example of this is Starlink. Okay, now my wife and I have just sailed right around the whole world. In fact, we've just sailed up Malacca Strait and passed here, okay? We sailed around the whole world on a 14-meter yacht over 6 years. We did a small piece and then flew back, and we work virtually. I lecture virtually on the boat and so on. I've written 3 books on the boat. The AI book was written on the boat during the journey. We spent up to 20 days on a single journey offshore. But what's completely revolutionized our lives in the last 12 months is a Starlink dish. And that gives us, even 1,000 miles offshore, 180 megabits per second bandwidth. Incredible. At really low cost. The extraordinary thing is, if you've got a remote village in some area of tropical forest here in Malaysia, and their internet access is okay, but it's not good, for less than $300, $350, you could put a Starlink dish in an internet cafe there, and suddenly that village has 120, 180 megabits per second. That internet cafe will make a huge profit by selling bandwidth because the bandwidth is so cheap. We can allow it to be linked by Wi-Fi relays across the whole village. We could allow that entire village to be online just from that single dish. And within a few weeks, we have enough money to put a second dish and a third dish and a fourth dish. If you wanted the fastest track way to lift a remote community into the digital world, it would be something like that. And the fastest way to do that would be a social enterprise and say, we will lend the money. We put the $350 in, and you pay us back over 3 years. Wow. That is just, I can hardly imagine at the moment something that would have as much impact in terms of encouraging the spread of AI and digital and employability and online education and access to healthcare advice and remote diagnostics. Just so much depends on this. So forgive me for being passionate about this internet access thing. We talk about education for all. We talk about health for all. Those are primary UN ESGs. But this depends, in my view, on digital access for all. But that's the easiest thing to fix, actually. And then the rest can follow. We have the technology. We didn't have it 24 months ago. I'll just tell you one other statistic about Starlink. Did you know? 3 years ago, there was 12,000, maybe 14,000 satellites going around the world. But did you know that only 2,800 still worked? The rest was space junk. Satellites that were 30 years old. 2,800 that worked, and most of those were owned by what? Guess who? Yes, you guessed it. The Pentagon or Russia or China's military. Hardly any, but actually used for like TV or digital or communications, telephones. Guess what? That was 2,800 working satellites 3 years ago. Elon Musk alone has 16,000 satellites up there, and he's releasing them at a rate of about 16 to 20 a week, controlled by AI, by the way. You see these, the rocket boosters, they go up into space. They automatically land using AI on a barge in the middle of the ocean, controlled by AI. Extraordinary, extraordinary speed of change for digital access. So cheap, so universal, and so important for answering the need that your questioner so rightly describes.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Okay, I'm browsing through the questions here,
Okay.
and
How many do you have?
right now we have approximately around 22 questions.
22. Okay, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I won't go anywhere. When this session is over, I will sit here on the stage and I will talk to anyone who would like to talk further about some of these questions. I have a luncheon I have to be at, but for at least 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes, I will be here, okay? I'll be just here. But
Okay.
we'll do what we can. Let's be quick. I'll
Okay,
be trying
let's
to
be
speed
quick.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a woman myself,
Yes?
we women crave for drama. Okay. The next question is very controversial.
Go.
I mean, not that controversial, but okay. Here goes. Is there any previous incidents on AI going rogue?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What
Yes.
is that?
Well, yes. Okay. There are several. Let me give you an example where AI has been poisoned. Did you know it's possible to poison AI?
Really?
Yes. If you look up, search poisoning AI, you'll start on Google. So it's possible, it's happened already, that by a certain combination of questions you put in or bits of code you manage to get into the AI itself gets corrupted. So that the answers it gives on a particular topic are always wrong.
Okay.
Or it does something crazy. So you might say, tell me how many people live in Venezuela in the year 2028 by yesterday morning. That's a rubbish question.
Yes, yeah.
But it immediately is a signal to AI to go and do something mad. That's poisoning of AI.
Does
And the
it-
other really worrying thing is that once an AI system like chat has been poisoned like that, it is almost impossible to detect that the poisoning has taken place. Okay?
See, okay.
So, yes, has it gone rogue? Yes. Yes. Through deliberate actions.
Okay.
Has it gone rogue through error? Probably yes. Why do I say that? Who's going to tell you? In my country, by the way, don't believe computers can't make mistakes. They can. They can. Shall I tell you why? I shouldn't be saying this, should I?
Please, please. Off record,
All
everyone.
right, off the record. Right. If you divide 1 by 3, you get a long number. It's 0.333333333. How many 3s do you have to go? Actually, it's 1,000,000 3s, and it's still not the right number. You have to carry on. What I'm really saying is, there's no computer in the world that can describe that number, 1 divided by 3. Yeah? So what happens, it can create what's called an overflow error. If you didn't have a rule in the computer language, it would wipe out your hard drive. Because the answer would be so big, it starts to overwrite the memory of the machine. It can't remember who it is. It doesn't know about Windows. It's lost its hard drive. It's lost everything. It's lost the internet connection. And it's still writing 0.33333 on your screen. You get the idea?
Yes, yes.
So you have to have a rule that cuts it off. So you say, no number can be more than 10 digits long. Okay? So that tells you that every calculation of that number will always be incorrect. You might say, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm just communicating in dollars or euros. If you're sending a probe to Mars, it might. It might. Actually, if you are doing huge calculations 1 billion times a day, it might. You could land up with a significant variation at the end. I'm just saying these are ways that computers make errors. People don't tell you this, but they do. Computers make errors because certain things can't be done by computers very easily. There are rules put in place which create fundamental errors from the start, okay? I've just told you about the overflow stack error. You probably had a machine error from time to time. It says overflow stack error on your screen. What a nightmare. It means that someone forgot to write the rule, okay? So, yes is the answer. Next question.
Okay, this is going to be the last question
Okay.
for this session.
Right.
Okay, it's from IIB. Okay. How can we ensure access to diverse, high-quality data for AI in regions with limited data collection?
Okay, say that question to me again.
Okay, how can we ensure access to diverse, high-quality data for AI in regions with limited data collection?
Okay. Right. The answers to many questions in AI come from other areas than the one you're in, okay? Right, so it won't surprise you. I'm going to give you an answer from medicine, okay, to help something for the environment. So drug companies have this problem all the time. They're testing a drug. They have only data on 100 patients for 2 years, but the normal drug trial would need 1,000 patients over 5 years. They're very excited, but they do not have enough data to prove it works safely to get a license. Big problem. Do you know what they're doing? They're using AI. They're saying, oh, we don't have enough data. Whoa. But the AI has noticed something. In this data set here, when we look at variables 10 to 20 and 30 to 45, and we match them against these ones, 10 to 20 and 30 to 45, they are so similar, actually we think we can probably guess the results from the next 100 patients over the next 2 years. And then they run it for another 6 months. And they, yes, we were right. Look, and then they run it for another 6 months. They should run it for 3 years more. They say to the regulator, look, are you happy? I think we've proven this does work. They're both diabetes treatments. The patients are actually very similar. Their age, their sex, demography, nationality, lifestyle as these ones. We would like to shorten the trial, please. And do you know what's happening? The regulators are just starting to agree. And they're saying, yes, good. So that's my answer.
Okay.
Use AI to start predicting what that missing data would be using variables that you can't understand.
I see.
And remember, just because you don't understand how AI got the answer, doesn't mean AI isn't right, okay? You will quickly realize this. Remember, I talked about this woman who gave these 5 bids to AI. She has no idea how AI has worked out so fast, how to score these things. But AI is doing it.
Yes.
That's the genius of AI, that it can do things we can't understand that go beyond the understanding of any AI researcher.
I see.
That's the power of it, and also the reason why we should be concerned as well about regulating it.
Yes.
So if I could just say,
Sure.
last word, these are fantastic questions. I'm going to sit here if anybody else would like to continue. Also, if you want to communicate with me, Patrick Dixon is my name, okay? It's on the program. If you just type that into Google, you'll get to my website, which is, of course, Global Change. And on there is my mobile phone number. Yes, 15 million people have it now. That's how many visitors I've had on the website. But most importantly, it's a huge website packed full of videos and articles on these themes and others. It also has my LinkedIn profile, Twitter, and so on. So I'd love to continue the conversation with anyone that's here. Delighted to do so. You may maybe also be interested in the book, How AI Will Shape Your Life. But I'm also here to talk to you. So thank you very, very much. It's been an amazing audience, and it's so fascinating and exciting to hear about the journey that you're on, and to be with you today, and to be able to join with you in your vision for the future, and to see it fulfilled. Hopefully one amazing, exciting step at a time. Thank you very, very much.
Once
Thank
again,
you.
put
Thank
your
you.
hand together for Mr. Patrick Dixon. Thank you. He's the chairman of Global Change Limited. Thank you, Mr. Dixon, for that insightful presentation and the answers. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now let's break for a networking lunch at hall number 101. When we return, we will hear from our CEO panel session. So please return promptly into the main hall at 1 p.m. Enjoy your lunch, ladies and gentlemen. Dengan ini saya mempersilakan para hadirin sekalian untuk bergerak menuju ke hall 101 untuk menikmati jamuan tengah hari yang telah disediakan dan sama-sama berada di dalam dewan ini seawal jam 1 tengah hari atau 1:30. Kerana kita akan mulakan session kita pukul 2. Pukul 2 Okey, jadi kalau boleh awal, kita awalkan lah. Okey, terima kasih. Kita jumpa lagi sebentar saja lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Oh, thank you. And tell me about you. What do you do? Fantastic. Oh. Oh, yes, now I can see I need my glasses.